August, and whole world is celebrating the Festival of Sports in Tokyo. We have Olympic going on in Japan, Tokyo 2020, which is performed in 2021 because of this COVID lockdown. And this is one of the most wonderful Sunday in life of Indians, billion Indians. Yesterday, our athlete Neeraj Chopra, he secured a gold medal in athletic competition, and he brought happiness and cheers in the hearts of billion Indians, more than billion Indians. And next Sunday will be the 15th of August. It will be India at 75. So India will be entering the very, very important phase of life of any nation. We got independence on 15th August 1947, and now it will be the 75th year. And this August is seen as August Kranti Week or August Kranti Day. 9th August is generally celebrated as August Kranti Day, but 8th August is also celebrated as August Kranti Day. And we are today here to celebrate different kind of Kranti, which is brought with the efforts of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji's vision and hard work, that is economic Kranti. So after winning the second inning in 2019 Lok Sabha elections, Honorable Prime Minister declared that we will make India economy a 5 trillion economy, which means India will be the third largest economy after US and China. And this is seen as very ambitious plan. And today we have most eminent personalities of our nation, Honorable Mr. Ashish Challanges, who is the MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange, which is a more than 3 trillion economy. He operates the company's trading of the 3 trillion economy, and the 3 trillion economy's demarcator is our Bombay Stock Exchange, and he is the MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange. And we have Jiten Doshi. He is one of the top guy from this financial capital. He is a co-founder and chief investment officer of ENAM. We have Mr. Sanjay Mehta, who is the founder of 100x Venture Capital. He is also partner in that. They help come up entrepreneurs. They help in the initial stage so that they become a large enterprise, and they contribute in the nation building, economic building of the nation, and to fulfill this dream of making India's 5 trillion economy. I have my colleagues, my friends, Tanmay Chakravarti. He is a group government officer of Tata Sons, and he is also principal advisor for the foundation. We have another friend from KPMG India, one of the senior most partner in KPMG India, Mr. Pradeep Udas. He is going to moderate this session. So we are here today with a great dream, great ambition our Prime Minister has seen, and every Indian needs to contribute in fulfilling this dream, because this dream is not only Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi's dream. This is the dream of every Indian, and every Indian must work hard to give it 100% to fulfill this dream and make India a superpower, an economic power, a defense power. Let the lost glory. We have been a slave country for several centuries. We have been ruled by Britishers for 150 years. Before that, we have been invaded by Muslim invaders for 600 years. And now, since 74 years, we have seen this independence and seen this democracy. And India needs to show its talent. India needs to show its strength. And this is the right occasion, the beginning of 75th year of India's independence. We should speak of this making India economic superpower and regain the lost glory in the global scenario. So I request Pradeep Udas to take over the session and start this session moderation. Thank you. I will unmute you just a minute.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching this program for. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for inviting me to moderate this session on India becoming a 5 trillion economy in near future. Among some of my friends, as well as that's how I would like to know them, but also their leading leaders of our economy. Really, whether if you take with our own Mr. G.P. Hinduja, who's a global leader running a $50 billion enterprise globally, and so Hinduja family, doesn't need any introduction, but again, they're an inspiration for many in the generations, and of course we have you kind of introduce Mr. Jiten Doshi, whether it's Ashish Chauhan or my friend Sanjay Mehta, who's again a very very kind of new leader, neo leader I would call him, because whether it's bitcoins or how with the number of new investment startups that are happening, he's a name to reckon with, and of course we have Dr. B.K. Modi, who's also proved it, bringing first time cellular technology to India. He was the partner and CEO of Modi Telstra, and of course after that the whole revolution started. He's joining us, I think, from New York, Rajesh, right? Dr. B.K. Modi. Yeah. Yeah. So we have eminent personalities, and so I'm really looking forward to this discussion. I'll set the context first, if it's okay with the panel, and then I would request each of the panelists to spend roughly 3 to 5 minutes to give their thoughts. That if can India achieve a $3 trillion target as an economy? Can we become world's maybe the top 3 economies? And if so, when, in your judgment, that is likely to happen, knowing some of the constraints and some of the challenges India has, and more importantly, what would you suggest that we do, all of us, our part, as well as government does its part, so that we can reach that our rightful place in the world as soon as possible. There are some COVID has kind of have required us to reset. There have been a number of different thought leaderships. KPMG has come out with some thought leadership, McKinsey's reports. I was just reading some of the material, and it says that we need to, if we're going to have this the demographic dividend versus demographic bomb, with the youth that we have in this country, we need to create jobs. India needs to create some 90 million new jobs by 2020. And we need anywhere from 9 to 10% growth, and this that means about by 2030, if we want, like about 12 million jobs we need to create annually, which is up from about 4 million job a year we were creating between, I think, 2013 and 18. Last 2 years are kind of a little bit of a wash, but so maybe more need to be created. But this is the one of the estimates that I read about, and in this manufacturing has to play a major role, because manufacturing sector would create actual real jobs. So 1/5 of the growth for GDP should come from manufacturing if we were to keep this youth gainfully employed. One of the things I read somewhere is that 43 frontline businesses, whether it's Tata's or Reliance and some of the large companies, Birla's, Hinduja's, 43 frontline businesses would create about $2.5 trillion worth of economic value. But we need the middle, the mid-sized businesses. They call it the missing middle. Our mid-sized businesses are not growing as much. So we need, according to some estimates, some thousand more large firms to be created, in by 2030 to really make that gap. You said from, whatever, 3 trillion to 5 trillion, thousand more large firms who would create bigger economic value, and some 10,000 mid-sized firms, but substantial mid-sized firms, to achieve this. And states have to play a bigger role. Center has to do, they have to set some policies, give some, some of the incentives for businesses, reduce cost of doing business and so on. But states have to play important roles. So 60% of the reforms have to come at the state level. Otherwise, it gets bottlenecked there, even if the center has the intention. So these are some of the, goals that I've kind of read about. But I would really like our panel to really elaborate, give their thoughts. So we will have maybe about 5 minutes each, and then followed by a panel discussion which I'll conduct, asking questions to each one of you. We will have some time left for questions coming from the audience, but the time is limited. We try to finish this in 60 to 70 minutes. So again, thank you panel for coming. I will start off with a video that GP has sent. He is somewhere on the high seas. So, he sent a video. He will try to join. So let me see if I can play this somewhere,
Dear friends, firstly I want to thank Dr. Rajesh. He is a very hard worker, good organizer, a real devotee of Vivekanand Youth Connect Foundation, for inviting me to this panel discussion on the vision, challenges, roadmap to a US 5 trillion economy, which is my dream also. I can only say that Indians are very talented. Indians are entrepreneurs. They have the best vision. What we need is the convenience of bringing investments in the country. The 5 trillion focus will boost service sectors contribution to 3 trillion, manufacturing to 1 trillion, agriculture to $1 trillion. We can even do a lot more than that. The government must invest more in education, employment, creation, and bring fundamental branch regulatory and make it easier to do business, where the foreigners are finding difficult. Furthermore, India is to encourage greater attraction to NRIs, PIO, OCIs, to promote and encourage their investments in India. They have been successful all over the world. If we go on challenges for India, unless we have a growth of 8 to 9% per annum, we can't achieve anything. COVID-19 did slow down the movement, but we were able to prove many other things in this COVID-19. Take an example of PEP, how they used to import, but now they are manufacturing even much more. What is this? This is talent, this is capability. The real hurdles have to be removed, mainly the bureaucracy given by the British slows down the journey and PM Modi's progress. India has to focus on ease of doing business and infrastructure to become globally competitive, export-oriented economy. Ease to do business in India is improving. The World Bank's 2020 Ease to do business report, India jumped 14 places to 63. Despite this improvement, India is nowhere close to realizing its potential. Even after 30 years of liberalization, we now need to reach the top 50. Roadmap, India's advantages. Make in India initiative is progressing, especially with defense and electric vehicles technology, but we are still far away. Be a global manufacturing hub. India should really do a lot for it. Domestic industry to be a global manufacturing hub is possible. COVID 19 brought manufacturing skills, but it has also given a setback. We should speed up the rupees 102 trillion 2019 infrastructure program with roads, energy, health and education is crucial to the high trajectory strategy. The government can raise US dollar 200 billion over 4 years with the sale of stake in PSUs. This could be a game changer for the economy and help fund capital and infrastructure expenditure. Furthermore, the production linked incentive for 13 sectors with 1.97 trillion support and more foreign direct investment is most important. Policy suggestions, land reforms required, simplified taxation through GST, easier incorporation of new entities through lower and larger approval processes, compliance requirements. India must become a more capital friendly destination. Both foreign investors wanting to invest and Indian entrepreneurs raising capital overseas. If all this is done, I am sure we can do quite a lot. If you look at highly educated, successful professionals such as lawyers, doctors, engineers, and of course entrepreneurs, they are India's greatest ambassadors and supporters in globally all over the world. Many NRIs want to support and see their mother country grow and prosper and bring the investment funds to create jobs and economic growth. However, there are hurdles. They need the red carpet with all the clearances. India must step into the thriving global NRI and OCIs who want to see India succeed. And they love their motherland and they really want Bharat to be ahead of everything. Friends, I will tell you, there is a great potentiality in our country. And in my opinion, being a global group in 48 countries, my strong recommendation to the government will be to form a real committee of NRIs, OCIs who have lot of experience in abroad and also their connections who could bring investors to India. But ease to do business is most important. If all this is done, there is no reason why India cannot become the third largest economy in the world. I am in the high seas where the network is not there. Being on a holiday, I could not say no to Dr. Rajesh, who has been a great friend of the family for a long time. Thank you once again, and I hope this event gives an enlightenment to the government and brings the success for India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, GP. I don't know if GP will still be able to join or not, but
just for this message taken as when in case there is not.
That's great. That would be wonderful to have GP a part of the panel. So I would now move to Mr. Ashish Chauhan, our fearless leader, innovative leader, leading Bombay Stock Exchange, and he's brought in a lot of new products and services into Bombay Stock Exchange, even though it's one of the oldest institutions. I remember, I think a couple of years ago, Ashish even introduced for startups, for them to be able to list and raise capital in the market. So Ashish, if you can give us your thoughts, so what I would like to do is if you can do this in, for about 3 to 5 minutes, then I'll go through each panelist. Once everybody's spoken, then we will start the question and answer panel discussion.
I think now my message has reached Dr. Rajesh, so I've been unmuted. Good morning. First, let me pay my respect to Sri GP Hinduja, Dr. Rajesh, Sri Pankaj Udas, who is Sri Pradeep Udas, who is, I kind of mix up with Sri Pankaj Udas all the time. Sri Tanmay Chakravarti, who has been a good friend, Sri Jiten Doshi, Sanjay Mehta, and all other friends. My apologies if I miss out on somebody, because I can see only 10, 12 names on this first screen. But basically, I listened to Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Sri Udas and also Sri GP Hinduja. Basically, India has to figure out a new way to progress. See, of course, I agree with all the points raised about creating new jobs. For me, India's job is to create jobs. And over next 10 years, if you have to create 1.2 crore jobs every year, even in last 30 years, we have created 1 crore jobs a year, although we may not want to recognize them. So effectively, it's not that the demographic situation has come upon us suddenly. It has happened over so many decades and literally 75 years of our independent existence. And that's where basically we have to take that as a given and move forward. The way I look at it is last 30 years on the basis of liberalization, we have been basically talking a lot on industry, giving them good ability to work and so on and so on, and we must. And there, I think I have a framework to use our sea coast. It's not easy to come out of the bureaucracy in one day and in entire country, which is 18% of world population, because that's the way we have been designed for last probably 1,000 years. We have evolved in that framework. If you can create non-bureaucratic areas, which are physically in India, but not in India, which is what I call special economic zones. Earlier also we have tried them and we have failed because they became the real estate playgrounds. But if the sea coast, coastal zones are created with large amount, say 100 square kilometers or 200 square kilometers each, and each state is given 1 or 2 to make successful, where no Indian laws apply. In fact, Indians to go there are going to like work in a foreign country and they come back in the evening, like what our countrymen are doing in the IT and BPO sector. We go to America when we log in and we log out after 8 hours. We kind of come back to India. And so that is going to give us a tremendous boost. If we can set up this special economic zone where it is easier to control the bureaucratic framework because it's not the entire country and it is being created, and it will have its own power generation, its own airstrips. It will also have its own ports, so that you have to be part of the global supply chain. There is no country which can produce everything. You need to provide ability to move in and out the goods fast, because some goods will be made here, then will go to China, then go to Norway, then come back. And we need to provide that framework fast. If we don't do that, we are going to miss the bus, which we missed even 40 years back when China started industrializing. But that is not what I want to talk today. What I want to talk today is, despite our entire talks and all our heroes except Sanjay coming from what I call the industrial background, what India has done over last 30 years is basically created an industry, a world-beating industry or world-beating industries out of what I call conceptual things. Because concepts cannot be blocked by bureaucrats. Concepts cannot be blocked by our hierarchies of the society. Concepts cannot be basically stopped, and that's where the modern telecom has allowed our people to create newer wealth using software, using BPOs, using now, of course, the drones and 3D printing and robotics and artificial intelligence and cloud and so on and so forth. for me, the maximum value of the future will be created using the new technology. The industrial revolution technologies are what I call 500 years old. The industrial revolution technologies are in a way giving up on their ability to create more wealth. The newer stuff, biotech and drones and clouds and AI, those are the 3D printings and all. They are going to create huge wealth. If we basically, like in a game of cricket which is going on, if we stand at where we are and look back at which ball came last, you are not going to win the match. You have to actually anticipate the ball and run towards that ball. And that's what India needs to do. These businesses, again, have very interesting characteristic, which Sanjay has exploited very well. Sanjay, in a way, we have been good friends since my IT, I used to be CIO, and we have been good friends since those days. So for me, the new businesses don't require too much capital. They require little capital and a lot of brains. Whereas earlier businesses, what I call industrial businesses, they require huge amount of capital to create a lot of wealth. Whereas the new businesses, and in fact, even Tata Group has realized that TCS has given the maximum wealth to the Tata Group over last 30, 40 years. And the investment there has been close to zero or very little compared to all other businesses. And that's where for me, if India actually has a standing there, instead of chasing the mirages, we must chase mirages, no doubt. But we also must change where we are good at. And we must basically ensure that all the new technologies, we create those clusters to train youngsters from kindergarten onwards and make them confident in those newer technologies. So whenever those businesses come up in a scale, we are able to actually achieve a huge amount of wealth that is going to be created. For me, this business is I call capitalism without capital. Earlier capitalism, which Marx defined, required capital to create more capital. In the new capitalism framework of mine, you require little capital, lot of brains, and exposure and world connect, and then you will be able to create a lot of wealth. For that, we have created a startup segment in BSE. We have created incubators in BSE building as well as in Banaras University in Varanasi, and we are trying to create many incubators through our own CSR initiatives. But we also have startup segments where people who don't get funding from any private equity, venture capital, angel, we are able to give them funding through the unknown people, and they are doing well. We have SME segment. We have, of course, main board. In effect, what I tell all the entrepreneurs that if you want 1 lakh rupees, we will get you. If you want 1 lakh crore rupees, we will get you. But please become entrepreneurs. Please go and become world beaters. And today, world cannot stop you because no bureaucracy can stop a software from going. No bureaucracy can do anything. So it is good to blame them. And in some ways, they have done a great job for India, especially in COVID times. But they've also done something bad in terms of stopping innovations and all. But overall, if we continue to go on the path, which is actually not going to work out, we will not achieve much. For me, next 50 years will create more wealth than that has been created in the last 10,000 years using new technologies. And who can create new technologies? Youngsters. India is a young country. If we can just create that ecosystem, no amount of bureaucracy, no amount of politics, no amount of even businessmen who want to keep all the controls with themselves, that once you become large, you don't want anyone else to come in. All those things cannot be controlled because the elites no longer can control newer technologies. Their waves are coming faster. And that's where for me, India with 18% of world population will basically contribute 25% of world's next wealth that is coming over next 50 years. And from today's $9 trillion, India will become $99 trillion over in terms of wealth over next 50 years. But for that, we need to create that infrastructure, that mindset. Some of it is created not because industrialists created it, because we only talk. It is not created because the government wanted it. It's not created because the bureaucracies wanted it. It is come up in its own. And that's why I have a tremendous faith in India's ingenuity, Indians' ingenuity, and their ability to create wealth out of nowhere. And today, the first time in literally 5,000 years, that India is on cusp, where the technology was coming and India is ready. 1,000 years, we have missed out on just not being participatory in the new technologies. This is the first time we are ready, and I have tremendous hope that it's not $5 trillion economy. It's going to be $50 trillion economy, $100 trillion economy sooner than what we think. So with that, I'll just stop here and then listen to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. It was really, I like the enthusiasm and the the you're looking forward, as a chief of Bombay Stock Exchange, you know the pulse of the market, what is happening, and as I mentioned to you earlier, I was very happy when you introduced for startups to list on the Bombay Stock Exchange, which was always kind of in a way was the domain of those with very large businesses. So I think what you said is that the new technology, again invigorated by startups who can't be stopped by bureaucracy or large businesses, is the way to go. So thank you for giving that thought. I would now like if Mr. B.K. Modi ji, if he's there. Rajesh, has he joined yet?
I think not joining. He's trying.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I would request Shri Jiten Doshi ji to give his perspective, because he also has kind of 40,000 feet view also about economy and where the businesses are moving, where the value is being created. So can you give us some thoughts, Jiten bhai?
Sure. Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you, Rajesh, for having me on the panel, and a very warm welcome to all the other panelists and all of you all who are on the call. Firstly, I think it's a historic moment for India, with us winning a gold in Tokyo. So I think, what better day than to have this discussion. I think, for many years since independence, we have always lived in a very close society, a society that's more of controls, and an entire generation that has gone through a mindset of nothing but a controlled era, a license Raj. And that's why for many years, I think we've always been looking in the rear view mirror and trying to take decisions of how do we go forward, which I think is not the right approach. Today, if you ask me, I think we are sitting in a historic moment. The last 7 years under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has been very revolutionary. Very few people have been able to actually visualize what building blocks have been put for the country to go forward. I think there were 3 things that Modi ji was trying to change. All the legacy issues of the past, a completely fractured economy that he inherited from the previous regime, and whatever he thought he wanted to build as a forward-looking India to take this nation to its right spot. So I think, we must identify, we must recognize that today India is on a cusp of a very new journey, and a lot of building blocks that have been put in place, fully started, paying off results. Let me just speak about a few things that, we have done right, and that gives me the confidence that India is moving very well ahead to its intermittent goal of 5 trillion. We are not going to stop there, and I agree with Ashish that the journey is much longer, and the pathway to that journey is now long and strong. I think India is at the cusp of a very big, if you ask me, move, where our Honorable Prime Minister over the last 7 years has built some very strong relations with all our allies in the West, whether it's US, whether it's Canada, whether it's Germany, whether it's Japan, Australia, or all our Middle Eastern neighbors like Abu Dhabi, Saudi, Kuwait, etc., who have now inspired huge amount of confidence in India. This journey of reaching 5 trillion cannot happen in isolation without global capital coming in the picture. And basically, all the ingredients that we have seen over the last couple of years that the government has done, they have made the environment very conducive, whether it's tax rates, whether it's bringing a GST and then streamlining it, whether it's allowing more foreign direct investment across several sectors. Apart from that, I think, what is very, very important today is that a lot of engines are firing. India is once again back on the capex cycle after about a hiatus of 7 years. We are also beginning to see that, first time with a global crisis, the pandemic, India is at the center stage and is able to take advantage of what is happening globally. The PLI schemes, the allowing of a lot of FDI, and making India a little attractive destination for foreign capital is all happening at the right time when the world has realized that you need one more ally apart from China. You need one more large economy that you can bet on. And I think India's economy is at a very attractive stage today. We have a promising 20 to 30 years ahead of about 7 to 8% GDP growth. It may take some time before we accelerate to 10-12% GDP growth, for which too many things will be required. But I think we'll make a good start in this decade for at least 7 to 8% GDP growth. And that will happen for sure, because there are several factors that are supporting this. To begin with, I think the entire real estate market is actually, beginning to start moving. That's a very big employment engine in the country that was not doing well for the last 6-7 years. But today, I think that is picked up very well. We are seeing movement across affordable housing to luxury and premium homes. And I think that's a very big sign, because that's a very big, economic driver. Apart from that, I think we are seeing a lot of action in what you call your new age companies. The internet economy is an entire new economic engine where I think there are no borders. All our Indian startups have proved themselves very well. And so many of them have generated huge employment, for the likes of Zomato, etc. For us to see that this is an entire new breed of entrepreneurs who will actually drive India. When, Pradeep, you mentioned about India's new age entrepreneurs and how BSE is promoting it and what Sanjay has to say, I would only say that today, I think across the landscape, India is witnessing a change in the mindset. Whether it's younger politicians coming, new entrepreneurs coming, new age businesses coming. So I think we are at the cusp of that whole movement where I think there is a refreshed mindset where leadership is changing across, whether corporate India, politics, businesses, etc. So I think we are at that cusp of a very big change. And I think this mindset change was absolutely essential. Apart from that, I would like to say that no economy can actually prosper unless you have the government on your side. And today, for the government to be on your side, I think whatever they have announced as policies, whatever they have announced as their vision, their aspiration to reach 5 trillion, I think is a big boost for all of us. The big proof of the pudding is in the last budget. I think against every odd, the finance minister did not increase the tax rates. We were all talking about a fiscal deficit of 9.5%, but no hike in tax rates. Now that's where a government provides huge amount of confidence to businesses to invest back, to grow, and also provides that kind of a stable environment to attract foreign investment. I think if you see China's story, FDI has been a very big part of that. Manufacturing has been a very big part of that. And I think when you come to India, you will see that in this coming decade, India will find its right share in manufacturing. We'll see a lot of exports happening from India. We will see the PLI schemes attract huge investments. And I think that FDI that we're talking about, I think will now keep trickling in and keep growing larger and larger. If you ask me today, I think from the infrastructure aspect, government opening up their doors to large sovereign wealth funds and large pensions, coming in and making investments and giving them big tax rebates, I think is a very big positive. What was missing was the trust, which I think our government has created in our allies in the West. What was missing was a conducive environment for business, but the last budget has talked about an expansionary economy where the government is not really bothered about, controlling the fiscal deficit to 3 or 3.5%. They have gone in to say that we need to grow, we need to become bigger. And for the time being, we're not really worried about what the fiscal deficit looks like. I think we need to invest in infrastructure. We need to invest in social infrastructure. We need to invest in healthcare, which I think is a very, very big positive that has happened. Apart from this, I think what we are seeing a big, big change in corporate India is that the mindset for investing has just come in. I think the last budget is where the large groups have actually got confidence that this government is here. It's for serious, it's for long term. And many of these policies that they have put in, I think will really encourage huge investments. India is going to go through a massive capex cycle. It is going to go through a massive infrastructure investment cycle. It is going to go through massive FDI and PLI coming into the country. Apart from that, the new age companies listing and creating wealth, and all of this driving ourselves into a huge economic expansion is going to be the new order. I think the mindset that we have, if we all of us would have met last Sunday, nobody would have been able to be talking about India winning a gold at the Olympics. So I think it's a mindset. The mindset, which I think for many, many decades, has been one of pessimism. I think that is now due to change. A lot has happened in the environment for that to change. And our Honorable Prime Minister has, laid out the entire field ahead of us for us to capitalize on what we believe is the next wave of growth, where India is going to be a very major participant in global growth. I think India's share of global trade is exceedingly low, and there is no reason why we cannot double it, or maybe even treble it over the next decade, with adequate amount of foreign direct investment coming to the country, and India becoming one of the alternate supply sources, that as the China plus one strategy for many multinationals is to look for the next source of supply apart from China. So I think multiple factors give me confidence, make me believe that we are at the cusp of a new, I would say, new and very positive cycle of growth. And I think there is the only problem or only challenge I see between us and the 5 trillion is our mindset. Because I think to gear, to go there and to make it happen, I think we need a positive mindset. Who could have said that, 20 years ago that India would have such a flourishing IT services industry? Look what a TCS or an Infosys has done. Today, they are global leaders in their lands, in their business. Similarly, I think across industries, across businesses, we will see large amount of companies, large number of these players all become global leaders. And I think there is nothing that can stop them. Even the telecom revolution in India, I think today we are one of the cheapest service providers, providing this service to 1 billion people. Who could have imagined that a decade ago? So I think all this is true entrepreneurial capability, true entrepreneurial spirit. And let us understand one thing. This had all been achieved despite the government a few years ago. Now you have the government on your side. You have a progressive policy, making body. You have an environment which is conducive. You have the world's global capital with you, and above all, huge amount of capital can never be invested when you are sitting in a very high interest rate environment. I think some of that has already been corrected. We don't see, some of India's best corporates in the near term borrowing money at double-digit interest rates. I think that is something very important for us to get into the capex cycle, to create infrastructure, and to encourage consumerism. So I think, when interest rates are realistically, low, and we believe that, India is going to be a recipient of global capital, and I think interest rates will remain low for quite some time to come. This is the right environment for industry to actually go ahead, industry to, spend on capex, industry to basically think of large-scale capacities and build globally. So I think all of this is indicating that, India is there. We need the mindset, we need the right people, which we have, and the entire new age economy, the whole internet economy, which we're underestimating. It's a whole different new economy which has no barriers. And I think that's going to be a major contributing factor in this coming decade. And I agree with what Ashish said, that, we are underestimating what new age technologies can do, because that's where, the entire world is moving, and it's a very big change factor. So I think we are very much at the cusp of that change. We are very much at the cusp of that 5 trillion. I think we should start planning on how to go to the next 5 after the first 5 trillion. Because I think the next 5, the first 5 trillion is a given. We have all the recipe and all the ingredients to reach there. Let's start thinking of the next 5 trillion after that, and let's start talking about the 10 trillion economy. I think there is no reason that we cannot even reach 10 trillion over the next decade. So with that, I'll stop here, Pradeep. I am very, very confident about our country. And I think this decade is India's decade, and we should all make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. GP Hindujaji has joined. Pradeep, GP, come on board.
Yeah, sure. Hi. So first of all, thank you, Jitin bhai, for a really, really, optimistic outlook. I also, there are, so you kind of up the bar, and that you've thrown a challenge to everybody, including us. And like you said, it's not only up to government, for us also to play a major role. So if it's a $10 billion in a decade, some of the estimates I heard is that earlier it was a $5 trillion by 2025, and now there's a reset going on where maybe $5 trillion by 2030. So I don't know, where we would end up, but we will come back. I'll come back to you with questions when we start the Q&A part of it. GP, welcome. We're jealous of you being there on the high seas. Wish we were there also, but we played your video, and thank you still, joining us. Nothing like having you in person.
Totally agree. I am a very practical person and a bottom line person. I have gone through challenges in my life, and I have been in so many countries of the world, and I try to pick up what is positive there, what is good there, and what we should pick up. I have mentioned very clearly that Indians are talented, they are entrepreneurs, and they are someone, even if you throw them in the desert, they will know how to make it green. Now, this is coming from where? This is coming from the spirituality. This is coming from the strength of Almighty. So, what even Jitin Bhai said about mindset, I even agreed. All human beings, whatever they say, there is always something or the other in it. But we should pick that up, what is good. Now, that comes from where? That comes from hearing all the information, collecting the knowledge, and then whoever has a wisdom will be able to do that. And whenever we have said that the government goes 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, it's clear. Look, I am unable to understand why there should not be a red carpet treatment for all the foreign investors coming in. Why we find it easy to do business in the rest of the world. Look, whether it is USA, we are much more talented than them. The reason we get stuck because of obstructions, because of going round and round on each and every file. That is what you mentioned, Pradeep, that the 5 trillion, 225 are now resetting to 230. But this can be achieved even now, provided we go on the right track and we try to see how the corruption in the country is disappearing, how there is going to be a simplified way of operating. Believe me, the youngsters nowadays, they hardly bother of anything. They can sit on their desk and start creating new systems. I have my grandchildren, I watch them. Amazing. They don't want to take interest in any of our businesses, but they have developed and created their own businesses. So, I strongly would give a message very simple, that try to see how we can simplify the business. And again, I will say that because Indians are talented, we have really polished the bureaucracy and made it more stronger than what it used to be. Whereas British have modified that technology. They left the technology bureaucracy for us. But being talented, okay, these things have happened. I have my experiences of my investments in India, how difficult it is to operate. But because of the love to our motherland, we keep on investing, irrespective. So I can only wish good luck to everyone in India. I would love to see the poverty disappears. I can never see anyone suffering from anything. I like everyone to prosper. And I would never like to stop anyone growing bigger than us. There is no reason. Everyone can grow, be prosper, be happy. But again, they don't understand. Happiness is not in money. Happiness comes from achievements. Like our youngsters, what they are doing in new developments, it is what? It is achievements. But if people think we can be happy by having money, it's totally wrong. हम क्या लाए थे क्या ले जाएंगे. So keep that in mind, and please all of you work sincerely and help Mr. Modi to reach the 5 trillion economy. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, GP, for that wisdom. That you're right. I mean, it's good to feel proud about your country. We all are very proud of India, and there's many good things that have happened, and our Prime Minister has tried to bring in, but many pieces have to come together. And your point is that the most important pieces, and I think this is what Jiten Bhai also said, that FDI has to come, and PLI, through those routes, it needs investments for the capital cycles to kind of be cranked up. So for that you need to, what you said is the red carpet treatment. Forget red carpet, at least given a kind of a even playing field to for investors, NRIs and OCIs to come here, so there is not this target. I mean, I think those are really wise words, and I think while we want to be very enthusiastic and optimistic, we also want to see what can be improved. That was your point, GP, that we need to learn from others.
If you in the village, the rural, how what that tune? No doubt, government is taking steps, but whatever it is coming out from government, how much is reaching to them? That is what is to be seen. And this will only depend when our talents in India look positively, think of others, work to give. All the principles of my late father, which have been there, I find applicable for each and everything which is happening in the world. Thanks, Pradeep.
Thank you, GP. I would like to, if it's okay with you, GP, we have Mr. Sanjay Mehta. We talked about the new age economy, the youngsters. I think both Ashish and Jiten Bhai talked about that they can actually bring in change. You talked about your next generation. They want to get into new businesses. So Sanjay has actually, he's on my colleague on TIE board with me, TIE, and Sanjay, I remember how he started out. Initially he was kind of youngster, and then he started investing, asking family offices, you want to invest, go invest with me. He would kind of curate the startups, and that's how he started. Then he's created his own fund, and whether I think we had GP invited him for that Bitcoin, talk, if you remember, right? So he's looking forward, so Sanjay,
Even
what?
Pradeep, even my age, I'm going ahead with new technology. I was the one started cyber.
I know you started cybersecurity, so you have your eye in the future, and that's what everybody has to learn from. So Sanjay, if you can give your thoughts, and then we'll start, question and answer session. I don't know if Dr. Modi has joined or not, but otherwise we'll have Sanjay talk now. Sanjay, you there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Pradeep, and great to be part of this panel with Ashish Bhai, GPG, Jiten Bhai, and yourself, and Mr. Modi. Let me start with a quote by J.R.D. Tata, which I believe very strongly. Uh, Mr. Tata, J.R.D. Tata says that nothing is worth attempting that will not benefit the nation, right? So everything we do across or we engage should benefit the nation, right? And at 100x.vc, the fund what I invest through, we fund Indian entrepreneurs, and we are very focused to be doing across the first check, and we invest in moonshot ideas. And that's what, when the mindset discussion happened across with what Jiten Bhai mentioned across. We need to have those large vision, the big, outlier hits which we can create across, right? So we start looking at those ideas which seems impossible, and we try to fund them and try to help them make it big kind of stuff. We saw across, I have seen that business cycles come and go. Last year with pandemic 2020, we saw tectonic shift happening across in various industries. But for India now, as an entrepreneurial nation, and we are trying to become a startup nation kind of stuff, with so many ideas brimming. The entire globe has become our marketplace, right? Across the board, the digital linkages due to pandemic has changed everything for India. In fact, from the statistics, if I have to quote across, Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, which works with startups, they have noted a statistics of 560,000 jobs created by their registered startups, right? Both by direct and indirect employment. Let me, the way I see across in the future, is that there will be two categories of people, right? One, people who will tell computers what to do, and second one, people who are told by computers what to do, right? So, you will have a distinct category of people who will tell computers what to do and people who are told by computers what to do. We have both of them. We have ample amount of software guys who can tell computers what to do. We have the largest IT workforce, and we have got also so many workers, people who are told by computers what to do. Today, you see across, let's say, Swiggy or Zomato software, which tells the delivery person where to deliver, what is the route, which restaurant to pick up, and then tell the restaurant employee saying that what food to cook for the parcel. Same goes for Uber or Ola, right? Which is controlled by software app. It's a new world where people do as what computers tell them to do. We have got both the sides of the story coming out right. So India has, the complete setup. We have got so many software engineers, and so, it's the way I see across is last 2 years, it has been raining unicorns in India. We are just growing leaps and bounds, and it shows our, I would say, luck and resilience equally, right? The way we have built across, and adoption which is happening across on the tech side, it's just unparalleled, which is happening across. So every economy like India or any other economy in the world needs startups, now even more than any time before, right? And India needs the brightest mind, the best ideas, and the most disruptive viewpoints one can find across. And we need to learn this. The way the Kaufman Foundation has done a research. Kaufman Foundation has done a research saying that when it comes to job creating power, it is not the size of the business that matters as much as it is the age, which means the younger companies are creating more jobs than the older traditional businesses, right? So idea is all the job creation which is happening across is happening in the startup side of it. And I can share my personal example in terms of when we fund companies and how they create jobs. The whole learning what we imbibe across in various startup and entrepreneurs when we fund them is to fail fast, fail often, and fail forward kind of stuff. Traditionally, entrepreneurs mindset, as a society, failure is not accepted. It is seen as a weakness. It's not seen as a learning. It is not looked upon as of something which is positive happening, saying that with this experience the newer stuff will be much better, right, in terms of it. So a lot of learning is created from the past. In fact, I can tell across some of the most successful ideas are shameless copycats, right? And we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. Take what others have built and build it, develop it further. If you look at the quote from Isaac Newton, he says that if I've seen further, it is by standing on shoulders of the giants, right? Including the biggest invention story of Thomas Edison and the light bulb. It is a most famous invention, but Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb. He merely improved the previous design and they become commercially practical, right? So idea is, let's not short on our vision and ideas and look at the biggest challenges which can get us the best work out of it. We can accept ourselves. Most of the time we undermine ourselves as an entrepreneur. We need to accept ourselves, saying that we can be creative and innovative. uh, you know it is today the entrepreneurs which creates value, increase efficiency. They create the new way of doing the work and grow business, right? They are like scale ready. Currently, all of the new startup ideas are questioning the traditional assumptions. They are developing, a whole attraction towards solving those complexities of old businesses, right? And trying to jump the curve, right? Removing the whole traditional incremental value creation rather than they are creating new revolutionary changes in how the business is being done across. So I mean, if I have to conclude across in one sentence, India is an unfinished story. We are just starting on, and we should get ready for Swadeshi Andolan. India rocks. Pradeep?
Yes, thank you, Sanjay. Swadeshi Andolan, India rocks. I mean, that's that one thing there is there that while we talk about bureaucracy and India needs to open up with open arms for the investment coming in. There's some things going for India. What you highlighted is that we have youth, which is eager to work, and then you have youth which has the technology know-how to create. And so India as a startup nation, um, and people who tell computers what to do, which are all our programmers and technologists, and thanks to US and all these countries which kind of gave us that business and opportunity, and people who told by computers what to do, which is they talked about just like companies like Zomato, Ola, etc. So it's true. We have what it takes, all the components of an economy. And the other good point you made was about the mind change of mindset. I think everybody talked, especially Jiten Bhai talked a lot about the mindset, right? So part of the mindset is being positive, but also accepting failure, because it is no longer a taboo. That's how we need to really, for the youngsters who want to try out new businesses, we need to allow them to learn through their experiences, even if they fail a few times. And I'm sure whether you take somebody as wise as GP, who has seen many businesses, they would have, even in a large business, they would have started, and some would not have done as well, but they learn from that and they launch a new business. So I think we all need to take a note of. I don't know if Dr. Modi has joined or not, Rajesh.
Yes, first exit job. And because of that,
he's not able to join. No worries, no worries. But you know, both GP said that money is not everything. We need to we can't be happy with money, which I agree. But at the same time, GP is in high seas and Dr. Modi is in Cancun or something. So yeah, I think I would like a little bit of both. So I would say I will start off with some questions. We have kind of time is kind of running fast, so I would say I'll ask one question to each of the panelists. If you can keep your answer a bit short there, so then I can cover all the panelists, and then we will open up for maybe one or two questions from audiences, if that is okay to proceed that way. Yeah. So let me start. With GP. GP, are you there?
Yeah, I am there.
Yeah. हाँ, वीडियो में आ सकते हो?
Go ahead.
तो वीडियो में आ सकते हैं आप कि आप should I come back?
वीडियो में बाद में आऊंगा क्योंकि I am in a situation where I won't be in video.
Sure, let me come back to you, then I'll end with you then. Okay, I'll come back to you. So yeah, okay. So let me start with Ashish. So Ashish, this is not Pankaj Udas, it's Pradeep Udas. So I
you sing well too.
Thank you for that. But so what I wanted to know is, like, what have you seen in the Bombay Stock Exchange? What is the uptake on the new startup initiatives? Are people signing up for that? And if somebody wanted to do that, maybe at a very quickly, if you can tell us, how it works, for the youngsters might be inspired by that.
Yeah, you are able to raise even 1 crore rupees on BSE's startup platform. You don't need to have any history of doing business. Usually when large companies come to BSE, they have to have minimum 3 years profitability track record, minimum 15-20 crore rupees a year on profits. But for startups, we have said that you can start a new company as far as you have a framework and you have some business, you can come to the BSE, raise funds, and from people who are unknown to you, who are not venture capitalists, who are not angel investors, who are basically normal people. 1 lakh rupees is the lot size. So if you want to raise 1 crore and each of them give you 1 lakh each, then 100 people is what you need to invest in your company for that 1 crore rupees. And all of us know, in 1 crore rupees today, you don't get 2-bedroom hall kitchen flat in Mira Road also. But why we are trying to do it is because today's Infosys, even Infosys then also did not require 1 crore. And today's Infosys also, which will become Infosys after 30 years, may not require that. At the same time, there are, if you read Economic Times every day, or Financial Express or Business Standard, you might think every Indian is getting funded by millions and billions of dollars. In fact, 99.9999% of the ideas and entrepreneurs don't get funded at all. So what you need to do is, basically, if you are not getting funding from anyone, you need to hire a merchant banker whose list is available on BSE's website, also called bsesme.com. You can select any merchant banker you want, tie up with them. They will do the writing of the prospectus for you. They submit it to BSE. BSE sends its people to your office to check out whether your company actually exists or not, because it's not easy to, if you have a track record, then the merchant bankers vouch for it. Here, we also need to do a little bit of due diligence. and then your prospectus is passed, and then you can start your IPO. Usually the idea to execution, means idea to IPO and listing on BSE takes less than 3 months. So why we have done it is, again, as I say, capitalism without capital. Huge wealth will be created, and it is better that Indians are participating in that wealth creation. Many of, like Sanjay and all, are participating in India's wealth creation. But most of our young businesses are funded by outsiders. So even if you create wealth, it goes back to outside. So my hope is that our own people, our own citizens, fund youngsters, and some of them will certainly not do well, but some of them will do well, and overall the society will be benefited. So that is our philosophy. That's how we try to work on.
Yeah, Rajesh, can you keep me unmuted, because I may have questions in between to ask, you know.
When you are
Yeah. You know, I will mute it myself here. I'll mute it here. Ashish, tell me this: how much has been raised through this vehicle so far? How many have taken advantage of that?
Around 341 companies have listed on BSE's SME and startup platform. Startup platform started last year in COVID duration, but 11 companies have come. And overall in SME put together, which also used to have the startup companies, many of them, totally around 341 in the SME and 11 in the startups, so 352 companies. They have raised close to 3,600 crore rupees, and their market capitalization is now about 30,000 crore rupees. So you can see many of these companies have actually gone to the main board. So 110 companies have already migrated to the main board. They become so large. So it's an interesting platform, and many people who have their businesses and their plans tied up, but do not have funders, because funders like what I call smart looking people, not smart people. And that is where our basically normal person ends up funding India's industrialization, India's automation also now going forward, India's march forward. That's how I see that. Today I have 7.6 crore investors accounts. So we are in next 1 or 2 years, investors will become larger than number of farmers in India. And so government will have to also worry about those people being hurt in case their policies go wrong. So I think this is also a new phenomenon. From January, I had 4.9 crore investor accounts, January 2020. In last 1.5 years, we have added literally 60% more. And it's every day we are adding 70,000 new investor accounts in BSE. So there is a huge upsurge. And most of them are searching for people who are basically going to create tremendous amount of wealth for themselves, but also for the normal investors. So we are giving them chance from the early stage of the company.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's incredible, because I think people would not know that, you know, that you got, like, some of the companies have got 10x kind of growth, in this. You're saying from 3,000 has become 30,000, right, or something, or is the 300
yes.
become 3,000?
Yeah, 3,500 crore was raised, which has become 30,000 crore plus in market cap.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you very much. I would like to now move question to Jiten bhai. You mentioned that the capital cycle has begun again. And also you talked about the China +1 policy, right? The countries are having, saying, which is really helping in India. That's what people are doing. But you also were very optimistic that we can become 10 trillion in a decade. In your view, again briefly, because we're kind of short of time, what are the 5 things India needs to do? What GP was saying, there are a few things where we need to learn from others. So what are those 5 things India needs to do to really speed up this growth? Forget Like even if you don't do 10 trillion, maybe 7 trillion or something, what is it, 3 or 4 things would you suggest?
So I think it's very simple. Number one, I think the focus has to shift to creation of infrastructure, which should be a continuous process. There should be large projects, which I think should have continuity despite a change in the government, in case any. We are quite confident that we'll see this government in the next term also. So there will be continuity, but what we need is, continuity of the large projects. The second thing that you really need is global capital. And I think you need that flowing continuously, not in spurts. So it's not that we attract $40 billion this year and zero. So I think, you provide that conducive environment where I think your bilateral relations are at a, new high in terms of giving them comfort, tax rates are low, everything is stable, provide them that sort of environment where they trust us. So I think there's a huge trust deficit that the foreigners have. And I think nobody better than, Gopi Bhai, who spoke about this, that this is one of the oldest and one of the largest NRI invested groups in the country, who have been invested and continue to invest despite a volatile environment where sometimes policies are favorable and sometimes they hurt you. So I think what they, groups like Hinduja Group itself can come in with 10x more of investment if you provide them with that kind of stability in policy making, in the environment, in the attitude, etc. I think the third big thing is, I think paving the way for the whole new economy, where I think, the internet economy is getting underestimated. And I totally agree with Sanjay that it's an unfinished agenda. We are a work in progress nation. And there is no reason why, we can't become really big out there. Like China has become very, very big, like the US, and have created their own homegrown tech companies. India too has that opportunity, and that can be parallelly creating a huge economy on the side. And, I think Gopi Bhai spoke about agriculture, industry, all of that. I think the whole new age economy will create huge wealth, employment, and will create that opportunity for the youth to participate. Byju's is a classic example of how basically, education is basically being spread across because of technology. So I think, all of these things will create that impact. And I think last but not least, ask me our entrepreneurial mindset. Everybody needs to think big, needs to invest big, needs to have that trust and faith in themselves and the country and the stakeholders. Because I think, we as Indians, because of the environment that we have lived through. So Pradeep, you and me and all of us have lived through many cycles. You are a product of pre-liberalization like I am. We have gone through liberalization and now we are going into the third orbit, which is the new age world. So we have lived through all the cycles. And, as you can see, the mindset needs to change and have a dramatic shift and needs to move from one orbit to another. So I think, somebody like GP is younger than you and me. If he could think of investing in a tech startup and investing in cybersecurity. So we need to emulate his mindset. But I think, this is a huge opportunity for us. We should not be giving it. And all the stars are aligned. I don't think, if you ask me, government is with external world believes. And people are today looking forward to this growth. So I think this is the right time. This is the absolutely right time under the sun. And we should take complete advantage. And I think when you have the government on your side, the biggest hindrance in any country's growth and progress is the government if its attitude is not correct. I think today we have a government who wants to reach to 5 trillion faster than we desire to. So I think that is the big, big positive shift I see. And we can't expect them to do everything overnight. But I think there are lots of small things they're doing progressively. And I'm very confident that, this is our decade. And if we think of 10, we will reach 7. If we keep on worrying about, we may not reach 5, we will definitely not reach 5. But I think the thought process has to be big. And I think there is one thing I'll say in the closing, what India brings to the table. And this is what I really loved about what, Mukesh Bhai has done for our country. He always says that, technology is an enabler, but innovation is a game changer. And he says that any innovation that cannot reach 1 billion people is not really the right innovation to adopt for us. And he always says, and, I think Geo is a class example of us trying to, make data availability to 1 billion Indians. And I think these are the people who will change India. And these are the few revolutions that will change India, and that will get every Indian hooked on to the internet highway. So I think we need to think big. We need to propel ourselves in that orbit. And I think we will definitely go there. I have no doubt.
Yeah, thank you, Jitendra. And I think you mentioned trust has to be built, and government has taken many steps, including the one which they stop. There's a new bill for stopping the retroactive tax, which was draconian, really. I think those kind of measures will increase confidence. You also mentioned, Baiju, right? Interestingly, I have my friend here also, I think in the audience, Aubrey, who's started, and if I'm part of that, Lauren Music Academy. So they're teaching music, globally, through technology. So, I mean, they're teachers and students, but it's like Baiju for music. That's their vision, creating. And actually, those kind of companies would actually, I can see in future, really creating value because, and he's planning to use AI and AR, VR kind of technology because, artificial intelligence can tell if you're singing in tune or not singing in tune and kind of guide you. So these are kind of innovations. I think, who said that, you mentioned that, Mukesh Bhai said that technology is enabler, but innovation will change the country, right? And these are kind of innovations we need to bring. I would like to now, talk to Sanjay. Sorry? No, GP, that's fine. I wanted to end with GP, but if GP has to go.
I'm here. Pradeep, I will have to leave.
Okay, so please, GP, I think, for you, I wanted to ask you.
You have any questions? Well, good. If not, I say goodbye.
No, I have one quick question. GP, one quick question. Actually, two questions. One is quick. One is, how's the weather there? How is it there?
I'll tell you. This is a fantastic valley. I have never been here. This was the first time. This is Porto in Portugal. And fortunately, yesterday, the foreign trade investment minister came to see us. And the way they have put their new formulas to attract foreign FDI, although they are in EU, is remarkable. But how are they getting this? Because they need, and they are learning from other countries. So it's a nice place. Whenever you like, come with Shashi and have a good honeymoon here.
We'll do that, GP. And one quick question. You started cyber security company. You got, new tech also investing. Like you said, the new generation wants to be in that. So, how are you seeing, what made you decide to go into, and why you think you need to invest in new businesses?
Okay, let me tell you. Our family, we brothers, we have instincts. Take an example, you were talking about TCS. TCS, we were the one, we boosted them in Iran. And at that time, Fakir Chand, FC Kohli used to be their CEO. Take even Tata's, Tata Engineering. We were the one, we boosted them. We get instincts. If you take in lifetime, how many things timely we have moved? Pakistan, we have moved timely. Iran, we moved timely. Lebanon, we moved timely. Similarly, we get a feel that you are talking about being innovative. You are talking about mindset. Now, again, somehow I believe our karmas have to be good. And if the karmas are good, Almighty helps you, to take right decisions. And you get the instinct कि अब ये करना चाहिए. We have to go in a new chapter. This is how we have been moving from one vertical to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, and having 126 companies. Now, no doubt, one can feel proud, but one can also feel it's a headache, because nowadays the professionals, they all also want to become millionaires and billionaires. In old days, the professionals who were working, they were totally committed, but I give them full right. They have to grow. So we have to focus and see how we can find the best professionals to be in your group to give a growth. There is no other way. You cannot alone do everything. You have to have a strong team. And to develop that team, you have to put all your efforts. Pradeep, hope you got your answer to your question.
Rajeshji?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you, GP. It has been really, really insightful for us, and thank you for joining despite having being on a chutti vacation there. So really, I think you lifted everybody up here in the audience and in the panel by your
Thank you.
presence.
God
Thanks
bless.
a lot.
God
Thank you
bless.
very much. Thanks. So now with the time is limited now. So Rajeshji, I would suggest that we kind of conclude the session and have. No, I think we've already we've had a discussion with Sanjay ji. So I just thought that we will.
Anything to speak before
Anything you want to say, Sanjay?
No, I'm good, Pradeep. This was a great session, and thanks for inviting and conducting. You have been a great moderator as usual, so it was great. And at this occasion, because this is a Youth Connect program what Rajesh is leading, let me take an opportunity. If you are a startup looking to raise funds, looking for the first check and help, write to us on pitch, pitch at 100x.vc. We will be happy to look at your business.
Thank you.
Let's
So now I would really again thank all the audience here, but really I would have Sri Tanmoy Chakravarti, who's a very senior leader from Tata Consulting Services. We all talked about TCS. He's been a big part of TCS success. So Tanmoy, over to you to conclude the session.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. It has been a very, very fascinating session. Successful overseas Indians are very, very eager to invest back in India, and they are really looking for, the procedures to ease in. If you take Mr. G.P. Hinduja's sentiments as he expressed even when he was on live video, it is clear that there is no dearth of opportunities in India. India is a large nation, and therefore we have to think on that large scale to play in the global stage. And it's just that, the traditional ways in which investments are made and the interaction with government agencies is concerned needs an overhaul. It needs an overhaul to bring it to the current competitive context of what other countries are offering to attract investments. Imagine we have 700,000 villages in the country, and I'm sure we can find 700,000 very successful Indians who have made it big all over the world, who must be yearning like him to do something to pay back to their roots. And only if we can harness this economic power and bring it back and make it attractive for them to come back and do things that they will, I'm sure, willingly do to remember the roots from where they came, it would be a hugely transformational exercise. Coming to Ashish ji's very innovative uh, idea that he presented to all of us is 2/3 of India is basically surrounded by sea. And if there could be a possibility of exclusive economic zones, which we could then promote to countries to come and set up their activities. I know for a fact that Panama, as a small country, has actually made it very, very attractive for global companies' headquarters to come into a secluded zone, and many companies are availing that benefit. So Ashish ji, thank you very much for that extremely innovative idea, and of course your extreme positive, bullish, as indeed the Bombay Stock Exchange numbers are today, of the outlook of the Indian economy, of not just achieving 5 trillion, but exceeding it in multiple times of that in the future, provided we are able to, get some of these things going. Then to Jiten Doshi ji's very clear mindset point, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me from Mr. Jiten Doshi's point, is that India is big. We just can't be a country full of pilots and small initiatives being taken here and there, which is only going to provide us piecemeal outcomes. It is time for us to really look at holistic and transformational initiatives and fast forward the whole process, and most importantly, focus on infrastructure, which is absolutely an imperative need, which creates jobs, which creates a lasting commitment to investors to come, provided there is adequate infrastructure of road connectivity, of power availability, of internet bandwidth and highways, and many of the other ingredients of healthcare infrastructure, of potable water, of cleaning up the rivers. These are many, many infrastructural projects that I think India has to really focus on now. Every single city of ours is actually, having a very, very polluted river. We need to clean up our waterways, and we need to have more and more airports. 100 airport initiative taken by the government is a step in the right direction. But I think the key takeaway for me was the intent of the leadership of the government has to be matched by the execution of the last mile of the government. I think that is where the delta clearly is, and I think that was a very important point that was highlighted by Jitenji. Sanjay's very innovative initiative of funding Indian innovative ideas and organizations, clearly, I think he did mention and cover the fact that Swadeshi India, the Atmanirbhar initiative is absolutely a timely one. The pandemic really proved to us how we were inadequate in providing healthcare infrastructure to our own people, and how we dramatically transformed by building capacity within given points of time to a situation from where we had to import every single PPE kit to the fact that we are now in a position to export after availing all our requirements. It's a dramatic transformation. And I think when the back of India is to the wall, the best comes out of India is the message that we got. And clearly, the ability for us to appreciate and acknowledge the fact that the young Indian internet-based economy is the way forward in the future, and there is the creative and the innovative mind that needs to be backed with funding that can really bring about this transformation. At the end, I think what Mr. G.P. Hinduja said again, and I want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. C.V. Hinduja, who has been patiently right through the program, been with us in this seminar, is where he mentioned about the fact that how the investment leaders of Portugal, even though they are a part of EU, and he being a British national, and Brexit is actually happening as we speak, is coming and presenting to him about investment opportunities in Portugal, clearly is a takeaway for us that best practices around the world need to be recreated. There is no need for us to reinvent the wheel. We need to adopt best practices and get going and fast track the whole process of transformation. So with these words, I want to thank all the panelists who have contributed to this very enlightening session. The bullishness with which we take away the fact that India can no doubt not only reach the 5 trillion milestone, but can exceed it many times over. India is the opportunity in the coming few decades in the world. I think that's a clear conviction with which we all leave this webinar. I want to thank all participants who attended this seminar on behalf of the Vivekananda Youth Connect Foundation for having listened to our panelists and all the wisdom that we heard from each one of them. The clear takeaway is the positivism with which, if we get things going on the right track, and India is on the right track, we need to fast track that track is what is the takeaway for all of us. So with these words, I want to thank everyone, all participants, all our friends who joined this webinar. This will be available, edited version will be available on the YouTube very shortly. And I want to thank Rajesh for initiating this webinar and in the series of the Vivekananda Youth Connect Foundation dialogues that he is organizing with very interesting topics and on Sunday mornings specifically. And thank you once again for all your attendance and time and that you spared to be with us this morning. Thank you again. Over to Rajesh.
Thank you very much. Pradeep, let's close with your 2 minutes singing. We don't want you to go unsung.
With a patriotic song this time, because of what has happened to us.
Okay. This is a surprise. जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। जहाँ सत्य अहिंसा और धर्म का पग पग लगता डेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। बस मैं इतना ही गा पाऊंगा।
Thank you everybody. Thank you Sri GP Hinduja ji who joined us from the high seas in Mediterranean. Thank you Sri Ashish Chauhan ji. Thank you Jiten Doshi ji. Thank you Sanjay Mehta ji. And I would also like to thank Sri Pradeep Udas who moderated this session and my friend Tanmay Chakravarti. Thank you everybody